with every season change, a new challenges comes in terms of बीमारी. So parents को जब लगता है that we have achieved everything or we have cracked it, then a new fever, a rash, a cough, cold comes. So what do you think about it?
Honestly, this is the most common feeling of every parent as soon as any monsoon or any season changes. So with the change in season, there is change in temperature, humidity, air quality, the normal bacterial and viral infection that is happening, that also changes. So that brings different challenges also. A lot of diseases that come, like viral infections are more common, bacterial infections are more common, fungal infections are more common in this season. Parents should not panic. They should observe the child, not just thermometer, and they should ensure the nutrition and hydration of the child. And if they see any red flag signs, any warning signs, they should immediately take the child to pediatrician or hospital.
Hi, I am Dr. Swati Singh and welcome to the Care Couch, where honest conversation happens regarding mother and child care. And today we have a very special guest, Dr. Prashant Abusaria, who is a very renowned pediatrician and neonatologist practicing in Mumbai, and he has a vast experience of working in a lot of corporate hospitals in Mumbai. So welcome, Dr. Prashant.
Thank you so much.
So can you briefly tell us about what your day looks like and more about yourself?
So let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Prashant Abusaria. I am a pediatrician and neonatologist. I have done my MBBS from Savai Mansingh Medical College, Jaipur, and I am my MD from D.Y. Patil Medical College, Navi Mumbai. I have been working in different corporate hospitals over past years. Normally we see different types of patients, for example, infant and newborn cases, various types of childhood infections and illnesses, growth and development issues, allergies and asthma issues, school health issues. So these are the common patients which we see in our OPDs, and some of these patients may require admissions also.
So right now, as monsoon is coming, what do you think about monsoon illnesses and what are the type of cases do you see during monsoon illnesses?
So monsoon brings a lot of joy, and with that joy a lot of diseases also come in pediatrics. We see more commonly viral infections and gastrointestinal infections, fungal infections, allergic reactions, asthma. These are the cases which see commonly. Skin allergies, skin infections are also common. Since the environment is humid, most of the kids stay indoor, so these are more prevalent.
So most of the time what usually we see is fever and viral infections and more of a gastrointestinal infections or an HRAD getting precipitated. I would like to ask you, if a parent is seeing this podcast, so what would be your advice to the parents in terms of hygiene or food or what precautions they should take during monsoon illnesses for their kids?
Honestly, prevention is better than cure. So there are a few precautions parents can take in this monsoon season. One is hand hygiene. They should encourage children washing hands when they are coming from school or coming from outdoor activities or games. Second is avoid stagnant water. So they can clean any stagnant water accumulated in their house. Since this monsoon illness also bring mosquito-borne illnesses, so mosquito repellents, mosquito patches can be applied. There are a lot of varieties available in market, both chemical and organic and natural mosquito repellents also. Third, whenever children are going outside, they should cover their body whenever practical. These common precautions can be taken by the parents.
And parents can also keep this in mind. If the child is coming from school or outdoor play and the child is wet through rain, then they can change their clothes and not to keep the child in wet clothes for a very long duration. And to not have any stagnant water, as Dr. Prashant mentioned, nearby also or in the home also or nearby vicinity also. So these are mostly the precautions what parents should take.
Yep.
And regarding the food, like they should not eat outside foods a lot, or the chutneys which are there, or any food which has been kept for a very long time. It should not be given to kids.
So in terms of food, try to avoid outdoor food, especially those fruits which are already cut, and they should not buy that thing. If it is a milk or dairy product, it should be properly refrigerated. Also try to take your own water bottles whenever you are traveling, since water is one of the most
Major
common
reason
way
for
infection can be transmitted. So these are the food concerns the parents should see.
Okay, very well noted. And I would like to ask, like, if now monsoon illnesses are coming and one symptom or a red flag sign when the parents should think कि अरे अभी इसको ये हो गया, अब तो डॉक्टर के पास लेके जाना ही चाहिए और घर में नहीं रखना चाहिए.
there are not exactly one symptom, but there are a lot of symptoms which parents should see, and if those symptoms appear, they should take the child to hospital. First is in terms of fever. If the fever is prolonged and it is not changing its intensity and frequency, if it is not improving for more than 4 to 5 days, yes, you should see a medical practitioner or a pediatrician. Second is if the child is suddenly non-responsive or unusual lethargy or drowsiness is there, then in that case, yes. Third is when the child is not passing adequate amount of urine, then yes, parents should take to the pediatricians. These are the symptoms, these are the red flag signs. Also, I would like to add, if the child is suddenly develops rash over the body, or if the child is having sudden breathlessness or there's difficulty in breathing, yeah, these are the red flag signs which parents should note. And if these signs appear, they should contact their pediatrician and should take the child to hospital.
Okay, so in short, you are saying if the child is having fever for more than 3 to 4 days, सांस लेने में तकलीफ हो रहा है, बहुत ज़्यादा यूरिन नहीं पास कर रहा है फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग ड्यूरेशन, या बहुत ज़्यादा बच्चा सुस्त हो गया है, बहुत ज़्यादा सो रहा है, या कोई नया रैश आ गया है बॉडी पे, तो आपको डॉक्टर को इमीडिएटली जाके दिखाना है.
Yes.
So Dr. Prashant, what happens is nowadays cough cold is very common in children, and अगर cough cold हो रहा है तो पेरेंट्स को कब पता चलेगा कि हमको डॉक्टर के पास अभी लेके जाना है, मेडिसिन देना है नहीं देना है. बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स ऐसे सोचते हैं कि नॉर्मल माइल्ड कॉफ कोल्ड है, घर में अपने आप चला जाएगा, तो कब हमें डॉक्टर के पास लेके जाना चाहिए?
Honestly, cough, cold and fever, these are protective mechanism of our body. If your body feels like there's something, some infection or some viral infection or bacteria, it produces mucus, it try to throws it out. So if it is mild, if it is not disturbing the sleep or daily routine, yes, a patient can wait at home for that while. But if the severity increases, if the child is coughing more than 5 to 6 times in a go and multiple times in a day, is not able to perform daily duties or night time awakening हो रहा है, बार बार खांस रहे हैं उठने के बाद, तो yes, at that point patient should see a doctor. Same goes with the common cold also. If the running nose is very mild, nothing to do with that. Most of the common cold is viral infection, so they may go in another 5 to 6 days. But yes, if running nose is too much, it is watery mucus coming out, then at that point you should see a pediatrician and you should address the issue.
So do you think any like respiratory distress भी हुआ, सांस लेने में तकलीफ हो रहा है, खांसी ज़्यादा आ रही है रात में और सर्दी ज़्यादा है, तो आप बोल रहे हैं कि डॉक्टर को जाके दिखाना है?
So there are few signs that patient should note, and if that signs appear, then yes, that cough should be addressed. One is if the severity of cough is so much that patient is not able to perform daily duties. Second, if the breathlessness appears, if बच्चा सांस तेज ले रहा है, yes, in that case you should see a pediatrician. Also, if there's indrawing of chest, छाती में सांस लेते हुए गड्ढे पड़ रहे हैं, या there is persistent whistling sound आता है जब बच्चा सांस लेता है, at that point, yes, you should see a pediatrician. It should be addressed.
So whatever signs Dr. Prashant said, if that is present, then you should go visit a pediatrician nearby. So Dr. Prashant, there's a myth. People say कि अगर बच्चे को बार बार सर्दी खांसी हो रही है तो उसकी इम्यूनिटी वीक है, इसीलिए उसको सर्दी खांसी हो रही है. तो ये मिथ है आपके हिसाब से कि नहीं, ये इस इम्यूनिटी वीक है इसलिए बार बार सर्दी खांसी हो रही है?
This is one of the commonest myth in pediatric age group. बार बार सर्दी खांसी होना is not exactly a low immunity. Yes, बार बार pneumonia होना is signs of low immunity. So if a child is having cough and cold 5 to 6 times or maybe 7 times in a year, doesn't mean that the child is having low immunity. But yes, if a child is having pneumonia twice or thrice in a year, yeah, it is a sign of low immunity. These are viral infections. It can occur especially in age group less than 5 years, when pediatric age group, they are going to schools, preschools. That is the age group where one kid interacts directly with the other kid. So these viral infections get transmitted from one child to another, and yes, they may fall ill again and again. And that is how our immunity learns and develops. So if the child is falling ill, especially cough and cold and mild fever, parents should not be concerned about it. It is not a sign of low immunity.
Yeah, so usually what you're talking about is when the toddlers start going to school newly, either a preschool or a play group or a nursery, बार बार यही कंप्लेन आता है कि हमारे बच्चे को सर्दी खांसी हो गया इसलिए हमारी छुट्टियां हो रही हैं, बच्चे स्कूल नहीं जा रहे, एक को था दूसरे को हो गया. बट इट इज़ वेरी कॉमन in daycare or a play school that if a child has common cold, it is communicable and it could spread to other kids also, but it is not that your child is having a low immunity.
Definitely, it is not a low immunity, and you can get running nose in pediatric age group only because of two causes. One is it is a viral infection. Second, it can be an allergic reaction. There is no third cause for a common cold or running nose. There are a lot of myths attached to these things that बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं हमारे बच्चे ने ठंडा खा लिया था या एसी में बैठ गए थे इस वजह से हो गया था. That's all wrong. No cold air, no cold water can cause running nose. Eating banana doesn't cause running nose. Eating dahi doesn't cause running nose.
Yes.
So these are misconceptions a lot of parents have. Give all these things to your kids and they will not develop any cough, cold or fever because of that. Having a cold environment does not cause common cold or rhinitis. If that was true, every person living in a low temperature कश्मीर में रहने वाला हर इंसान फिर सर्दी खांसी राउंड द ईयर रहता था.
So now as we're talking about either a common cold or any allergies, I would like to know any allergies which you have treated in OPD and you're telling the patient that this kind of food allergy or any kind of allergy which is there and the parents think, oh, what are you talking? We didn't even knew that this some other food allergy or something still exists.
So there are a few allergies which are more commoner than we think they are. Parents do not know that these kind of allergies are also there. Thanks to movies and series, international serials, we know that nut allergy is very common in India. It is not that prevalent. Most common is dust allergy. But if we talk about food allergies, then one of the commonest allergies what we see nowadays is color allergy.
You mean food color allergy?
Yeah,
right?
food color allergy. The edible color allergy. The icing on the cake, the cream, you can say these small chocolates, gems and M&Ms. These are all part of that edible color allergies. Child usually presents with long persistent cough and when they are treated it will go. Exactly the day they will take that color, they'll start developing symptoms by the end of the day or next day. So these are very common allergies but they are not known to parents. Second, one of the most common allergies is cow milk allergy. A lot of parents don't realize that cow milk allergy is also there. And usually child presents with symptoms like failure to thrive, development and growth is affected, blood in stools, bloating of stomach. So these kind of symptoms are present.
Yeah, so like in cow milk protein allergy, mostly what you see is not gaining weight, either blood in stools or loose motions. And commonly when you address the parents saying that cow milk protein allergy is there, they think कि oh ऐसा भी कुछ हो सकता है. And when we tell if mother is also consuming and if she is doing breastfeeding, then also the child can get cow milk protein allergy. So when mother is feeding, then we tell them to avoid either tea, coffee if they are drinking, or ghee also we have to avoid. Cheese products we have to avoid. Any product which is milk based we have to avoid. Even Indian sweets which are made by milk, that also has to be avoided if mother is consuming. Then only the cow milk protein will get excreted from baby's body and the kid will not have any symptoms. I would like to know more like when we say cold or allergic rhinitis, so what is the difference between a cold or an allergic rhinitis?
See, common cold usually presents with running nose. It is accompanied with mild fever also, and usually it gets resolved on its own by 7 to 8 days, within 7 to 8 days, since it's a viral infection. Absolutely no need for any antibiotics in common cold or rhinitis. But allergic rhinitis, things are slightly different. One, it prolongs for a longer duration. Second, it is usually after some event, maybe a environmental change or season change. If there's any new construction in the area, so dust allergies can present with that way, and they are not accompanied by fever, and it is usually associated with itching in nose, itching in eyes, watery eyes. So these are the common symptoms of allergic rhinitis. Those have to be addressed. And these kind of patients should be treated in a different way.
Okay. So now as you're practicing in Mumbai, what are the common allergens or triggers which can cause any allergy or allergic rhinitis or any other sort of allergy? Would you like to highlight about it? The triggering factors in Mumbai actually.
So one of the commonest allergens what we see in Mumbai is pollution, a triggered allergy. Second is a lot of construction is going on, so dust allergy is very common. Monsoon is coming, so yes, monsoon related allergies is there because the air is more humid. Pollen allergies are also common in pediatric age group. So these are the allergies that are there. Some may require extensive testing also, but usually most of them get treated with
by just eliminating the cause. If they
Yeah.
are staying near a place where new construction is going on, so staying
There are
inside
only-
or wearing mask or anything.
Yeah, so there are only two ways you can help with a person with allergy. One is either you can suppress that allergy or you can remove
Avoid
that
the
allergy
trigger. Yeah, allergies.
from the patient.
So very well said, as he's telling us if we have any allergic triggers, then to avoid the triggers or to suppress it by any medication.
Yes.
Dr. Prashant, there are so many vaccines available. So what do you think in less than 2 years of age, what are the most important vaccines that the child should never miss?
Well, ideally, child should not miss any vaccine. We have three categories of vaccination. One is compulsory vaccination. These are vaccines against those diseases which has high morbidity and mortality. Means the child has a higher chance of getting hospital admissions and in severe cases may result in death. So the compulsory vaccinations are BCG against tuberculosis, diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, measles, rubella, rotavirus, and pneumococcal vaccines. So these are compulsory vaccines which are given both in private sectors and government also, which are present in both national immunization and the immunization recommended by Indian Academy of Pediatrics. Then comes the additional vaccines which have higher chances of hospital admissions but lower chances of severity which may result in death. So these vaccines are varicella, which is for chickenpox, hepatitis A vaccine, typhoid vaccines, and HPV vaccine. These are those vaccines which should be taken but they are not compulsory ones. Then comes those vaccines which should be given under special circumstances, like if the child is having immunodeficiency due to some diseases like thalassemia patients or splenectomy patients, HIV patients, cancer patients. So in those patients, we should give these meningococcal vaccines, pneumococcal vaccines. Patients who have been bitten by any rabies dogs or any dog who is not immunized prior, for them rabies vaccines is there. So these are special case vaccines, or yellow fever vaccine if you are traveling abroad in African countries. So these are different kind of vaccines, and all the vaccines are necessary, and at least the compulsory and additional ones should be taken by all kids.
Okay. So as you talk about vaccination, just wanted to know, like a lot of time it happens because of any personal issue or a family issue. The parents couldn't take the child for vaccination and then they think कि अरे अब क्या करें, हमारा तो वैक्सीन का डेट था और निकल गया. तो क्या हम बाद में ले सकते हैं या पहले ले सकते हैं? कैसा आप ऑप्शन देते हैं पेरेंट्स को कि क्या पहले ले सकते हैं? आई डोंट थिंक सो कि अगर जो ड्यूरेशन है उसके पहले ले सकते हैं करके.
Yeah, it is not recommended कि पहले ले सकते हैं than the specified time for that vaccination. But yes, if you have any delay in vaccination, it can be taken later on. I always say late vaccine is always better than no vaccine. A lot of parents who delay their vaccines because if the child was sick or ill or they were traveling there or they just simply forgot, we have catch-up immunization for that. And we don't have to give the whole immunization in that case, only the part which is required that we give. So all vaccines have catch-up immunizations, except for a few vaccines like polio. If the child has not taken and if the child is above 5 years, then it need not to be taken.
Okay. So there are a lot of myths regarding vaccines.
Yeah.
So would you like to address that? What are the myths? And my major question is, you should give vaccine to the child or not to be given?
The vaccine should be given to every child. Frankly, it comes under right to health. Every child should receive vaccinations, and there are a whole lot of myths which are attached to immunization. The commonest ones are the vaccines give you autism, vaccines make your immunity even weak. That is not true. There is no evidence based on these things. So vaccinations should be taken. There are so many diseases which has been eradicated by vaccines. For example, smallpox have been eradicated, or polio, we don't have any case since 2011 or 12. These are diseases which had adverse impact on society in terms of child health, and they have been successfully eradicated only and only because of vaccination. So yes, vaccinations should be taken.
So take home message would be that you should vaccinate your child and you should vaccinate them on time. And even if you miss a dose, you can go to your doctor and you can ask them for the catch-up schedule of the vaccine.
There are a whole lot of people and a whole generation who have never seen diphtheria, pertussis, measles, rubella, They have never seen it. In older times, chickenpox was so common. कि माता आती थी और बहुत सारे बच्चे होते थे. That was giving a herd immunity kind of thing. But you will rarely see nowadays kids having chickenpox now. So these all are diseases which have been prevented by these vaccinations. So vaccination should be taken.
Okay. So now, if a parent is getting a child to you for vaccination, do you think there's something called as a painless vaccine? Can you highlight about painless vaccine?
Painful vaccine and painless vaccine are, I would say, marketing strategies. But there is no vaccine that is painless. Needle prick will be there, and needle prick pain should be there in a normal body. These painless and painful vaccines are basically the adverse reactions which were after giving vaccination or after giving immunization.
That
For
has
ex-
been reduced.
That
right?
has been reduced, which have been marketed as painless vaccines. So initially, people used to have fever, muscle soreness, redness, swelling. Those have been reduced now, and these painless and painful vaccines are only connected to only one specific vaccination. Not all vaccines are labeled as painless vaccines. Only the DPT vaccine, that combination vaccine we give. Initially, it was whole cell. Now it is acellular. So acellular ones are painless vaccine. They don't have those adverse reactions. The whole cell ones are having those adverse reactions like fever and swelling. At presently, now those whole cell vaccines have been limited to government vaccination only. Most of the private vaccinations private sector vaccinations are now acellular. So yeah, that is there. But yeah, needle prick pain will be there.
So, as a parent, when I take my child to a vaccination center or a pediatric clinic, so what should be the thing which I should tell the child कि oh we are going for vaccination, so the child will be scared कि अब तो इंजेक्शन लगेगा ही और अब पेन होगा. तो ऐसा क्या चीज़ है जो हम पहले हमारे बच्चों को बोलना चाहिए आपके पास लेके आने के पहले?
So there are few things that parents can tell. First, they should not lie that they are going outside and then suddenly they bring to the doctor. In that case, doctor becomes the villain in that case, and parents should not say that अगर आप पढ़ाई नहीं करेंगे, खाना नहीं खाएंगे तो ये डॉक्टर साहब हैं, ये आपको सुई लगा देंगे. So these things develops a fear for a pediatrician and a child's mental state. But I would say that parents should make the kids understand that they are going for a vaccination, and there will be a slight prick. या आप बोल सकते हैं हल्की सी चिमटी काटेगी, and then you will be even more stronger, and you should take these vaccinations.
So ideally, you are saying that the child should be told that yeah, you are going for a vaccination and then you are going to get an injection, you are going to get a prick, yeah, but that will not pain that much and that will be a small prick kind of thing, and the child will actually know what is going to happen rather than lying to the child that you are going somewhere else.
Why lie to a thing when it is going to happen with every kid?
Okay, so just wanted to know like any kind of position or a posture, or you apply anything before giving the vaccination so that the child have a little less pain.
Well, it depends age to age. If the child is very young, then mothers can hold the child and vaccination can be given in mother's lap also. Distraction is one of the best way to distract the child, and we can give vaccination at that point. We can make the child understand you have to lie down and then we give the vaccination, or you can show their favorite videos or their games, and during that time vaccination can be given. There are few tricks and techniques that pediatricians use to reduce the pain. For example, nowadays a lot of pediatric doctors are applying lignocaine spray, so that numbs that area, and then you can put vaccination. There will be no pain. Or few techniques pediatricians use while giving vaccination. Either they press that area and confuses the brain and then put vaccination, or they squeeze that area and then put vaccination. These are ways in which we can reduce or eliminate that part of the pain.
But slight pain will be there.
It may not be there also. If you are applying, for example, lignocaine, if you are applying, then there will be no pain. The child won't even realize that you are giving vaccination.
So majorly you have to distract the child or apply a lignocaine spray or press it so that the child is confused at where the pain is.
Yeah.
So there are few things which the
Can
pain
eliminate the
eliminate. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant, for your time and joining us today at Care Couch.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And to everyone watching, if you have liked it and if you think that someone will be helped by this, do share the videos, and we'll see you in the next episode of Care Couch.